Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, or back to the podcast, I should say. I am NOTRATED, and today we are joined by a special guest, and that special guest is Cherry Donut.
Yo, it's me, Cherry Donut,
Yeah, it's Cherry Donut in the house.
in the flesh,
Yeah, that's what.
as a little guy.
As a little guy with a monster cane.
My source of energy.
But, you want to introduce yourself, Cherry, real quick before we get into the movie?
Yes, well, as Raiden has said, I am Cherry Donut, also known as just Cherry. I am Australian and I am a digital artist.
Yeah, she does good art. She also drew my little pink tubers. So if you like her art, go her socials will be in the description, and will be mentioned again later in the video. So make sure you check her out. She's really cool.
Hooray!
Hooray! But yeah, make sure you check her
Oh,
out.
and
She's really cool.
I'm also a special guest because I, I very much am into horror stuff like Rated and many of you guys watching.
Yeah, she's a big thing in horror. She draws a lot of horror stuff too. Nice look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I love drawing spooky stuff.
yeah. And like Joey mentioned, she's from Australia, so I figured since today is kind of like a
Hmm.
special episode, we review a Australian horror movie, and that movie is Lake
Yeah.
Mungo.
And it's also my type of horror movie from what I've seen because it's very much in the psychological sort of things I would say
Yeah,
based on what I've like read of it and all that. Which I love psychological and like slasher movies. They're probably my favorite subgenre of horror movies.
oh yeah, this movie, it's a found footage, kind of a found footage movie. It's more of like a fake documentary type movie, in a way.
Yeah, it's like found footage. I'm pretty sure it's classified as a pseudo documentary. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's pseudo. I think that's the word, pseudo documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's directed by Joel Anderson, which popular thing with that, no one knows who that is. 'Cause that's not actually. I don't think that's the director's real name, so no one really knows who directed this.
Mm.
Also, I think Joel was the. Oh, the okay. That was his brother's name a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. This movie came out June 18th, 2008 in Sydney, Australia. It didn't come out to America till like later, in 2009. And it had a budget of $1.7 million, and it made about $29,000 back, which is not really great, which is kind of a tragedy.
That's
Like,
yeah, that's not
yeah,
that's very unfortunate.
it's,
It's
it's,
it's not great at all.
I could see why people probably wouldn't like this type of movie, but I think people should. If people have never seen this, I would say spoiler-free review right now. Give it a try. It's actually really interesting and also very creepy. With
Yeah,
the
I
stuff that
really
happens.
think people should give this movie a chance.
Yeah, I'd say give it a chance. If you love found footage, check it out. I know I could feel like some people might not like it because of how it's shot, the documentary and stuff like that. But I would say give it a try.
Hmm. I didn't expect to be like spooked at all by it, but I was definitely caught off guard by a lot of things. There's not really many jump scares to be honest. It's not a jump scary type of movie, which I honestly like because I despise jump scares. I don't like jump scares at all. Not because oh, it's too scary. I don't like it. It's too scary. It's because I just find them. It's just obnoxious because it's like all you're doing most of the time with jump scares in movies. Like there are good jump scares. Uh, don't get me wrong. I don't hate all jump scares, but most of the time with jump scares in movies, it's just like someone sounding off a loud air horn in your ear, and it's like,
Yeah, everything goes
man,
quiet. And then,
that's just a dick move. Like I'm not scared. Of course, I got scared because you just sounded an air horn off in my ear. But I'm gonna be more pissed than like scared. I'll be scared in that brief moment, but then I'm just gonna be pissed because what the heck, man?
yeah, I don't like those types of jump scares either. It's just cheap in a way, and also it's not great if they like kind of tell you it's happening. Like I said before, if the music gets like really low, and then jump scare, and that's how their jump scares work in that movie, it gets kind of boring too. Because you're like, okay, well, here
Yeah,
comes a jump
it's
scare. Yeah,
predictable. a lot of it's predictable, but with this movie, it's like very subtle. When there is like quote
There's
unquote
like
jump scares,
one
I
jump scare
it's like
though.
subtle.
There is one jump scare though in
Mm.
that. We'll
Mm-mm.
get to that when we get into the movie. But yeah,
Yeah, there's one jump scare, but it was like I found it to be more of a subtle one. Like it wasn't like anything loud just happening because ooh scary noise. Well, loud noise equals scary. It was more so like it was like and it gave you a sense of like unsettled and what's the word unsettledness. I don't even think that's a
it's like
word, but
unsettling,
you're unsettled.
or
Yeah.
your jimmies are rustled the entire time.
Yes, my jimmies were rustled. I did not expect my jimmies to be rustled, but they were.
Yeah, this movie will Jimmy rustle your jimmies pretty much. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Before we get to the movie, I guess we'll give it out like the slashes scoring thing because I know we're doing this a podcast. I would say out of 10, this is probably like a solid 7. I would say.
Mm-hmm. Based off of like, yeah, like doing spoiler free and all that. Uh, I would say definitely it's high up there for me because it definitely it still got me even going in like I knew certain things and all that going in uh but even then I it still caught me like off guard and like I genuinely got chills like and at some parts uh so I would give it probably I would go an 8 but also that's because I'm biased and I'm Australian and I would like when Australian horror movies
There is a
do
lot of
good.
Australian stuff in this movie.
It makes me very proud when I'm like ooh yay.
But yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, please check it out. Especially if you watch this podcast
Mm-hmm.
and have you not seen it, go see it and then come back to the podcast because
Oh yes.
I would say you'll have a good time watching it. And also
It
Cherry
will
said,
be so but I mean even though it was impactful for me and I like knew a bunch of stuff that happened, like I had context before going in, I would say definitely give it a watch like before continuing on with the podcast because oh my god, it's so good and I wish I could go into it like I probably would have been even more unsettled if I went in without knowing anything, to be honest. Like if it unnerved me and I already knew like what was going down, I would probably be shitting myself if I didn't know anything.
yeah, so yeah, check it out. You know, we both like the movie, so you know, it's a good
Mm-hmm.
movie. All right,
And
now,
also, uh, oh sorry, but like, I have a little fun factoid to share.
oh sure, it's a factoid. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. A fun little factoid. Lake Mungo, is actually a real lake in New South Wales, Australia.
Oh, I didn't even know
It
that.
is a yeah, it's an actual lake. I don't know for sure if it's like a dried out lake, like how it's described in the movie, but it does exist, and it is also uh very well known in the archaeological uh realm because of the fact that archaeologists discovered the oldest human remains like in that lake, uh dubbed the Mungo Man and the Mungo Woman. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's get into the spoiler section of the movie. Which, for our information we are going off Wikipedia. I know it's not really a trustworthy site. Anyone could edit anything on that, but that's what we're going off of. So
Mm-mm. I'm going off of Wikipedia, my own memory, and also IMDb.
yeah, I'm also going off of that too. So let's get into the movie. So the movie does start off with I believe the screen's black, and then it shows like a family at the lake, right? Is that how it starts out?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a family recording of and like the movie does really well making it feel like genuine recordings back in the day because the actual movie like it was released in 2008 but it's set in like 2005 era. And I will say they do a really good job of like making everything feel like it was filmed on a piece of shit, which is something that I love when found footage movies do because some recent found footage movies, they always just like they use like these high tech cameras, and it's like it doesn't it takes me out of it because all I can think about is the character like holding a piece of like studio camera when it's supposed to be supposedly filmed on something that is of uh really bad quality. It's like it's not believable, you know. That might just be a me thing, but this is something that I really like when found footage movies do, and I think it already sets like high, like it's high praise for this movie because they actually film it in a way where it's like, oh, this feels like genuine, like a genuine like old family recording, like on a little like camcorder or something.
I do agree, yeah, because there's a lot of films that like do that, but they do it in CGI, like in like post. I think it's called. I don't remember,
Mm.
but a lot of people would edit on like the filter and stuff like that, which makes it look horrible. I think I also agree with you. It does look good in this movie because the fact that it actually does look like you're watching like a home video.
Mm.
But yeah, this they're swimming at a dam in. I'm gonna mispronounce this horribly in Ararat.
Yeah, Ararat.
Ararat. Okay, so okay, I pronounced it right. Woo. So yeah,
Hooray.
yeah, hooray! I can pronounce Australian words. I think there was one. I remember one time you were trying to teach me like a name of a store, and I kept getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do remember that. I think it was the Australian way of saying McDonald's.
yeah. I don't remember what it was though, because I remember you were saying it,
It was
and I was like, what?
it was Macca's.
Oh yeah, Macca's. Yeah.
And you kept saying like macaws or something like that.
Well,
I
I
was like,
thought because it was
no.
like a MC or something like Mick, and I was like, oh, it's a Mikada's.
I remember that very well.
But yeah, yay for me, I got that right. But yeah. So they went swimming this dam. Alice, who is the daughter, goes missing after swimming for a while.
After swimming with her brother specifically, so like this is like a me and rated conspiracy theory where like it's kind of sus that the brother was the last one to see to like be with her,
Yeah, exactly. I
and then
fully
she just
think he
goes
did
missing. And
it.
it's like Herm.
So, but yeah, she goes missing for a couple days, and then I remember I saw one scene where they were driving the car backwards, and I was kind of confused by that when I first saw it. And then it made sense because they're like, well, the car died, so we had to get it back somehow. I was like, oh, I think that was
Mm,
why. Yeah. But yeah, she goes missing for a while, and then after that, they find her body in the lake.
yeah, it was I think a full like a I think it was a week or so,
Yeah, I
or
think it was
like
probably a week. Like I said, we're going off of memory here, so we
mm-hmm.
we might be wrong
It
at
was
some
either like
points.
a couple weeks, I think, or like
I think
or it
it was
was
a
like a
couple
month
weeks
or
because the
so.
body's pretty waterlogged. I would say,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, they find her body. The dad goes to confirm it. He confirms it's her.
Mm-hmm.
The mom doesn't want to believe it. She's thinking she's still out there, and all that. Because I mean,
Yeah.
as a parent, I imagine that's pretty hard. You know, just you don't want to accept the truth and all that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was both that, but the main reason she gave at the start was because she didn't want that to be her final memory of her daughter. So
Oh
that's why she
yeah,
sent just the dad to identify her, which is understandable.
that's understandable. Yeah. Also, the brother's name is Matthew. It's not
But
trouble.
it's spelled
Yeah,
stupid.
it's spelled stupid with one T. What do you think, Matthew?
It's
You
spelled
think
with
you're cool?
one T.
You're not cool, Matthew. God.
And it's not an Australian thing. I can confirm it's not an Australian thing because every single person, I know a lot of Matthews here. It's a common name here. Not a single one of them is spelt with one T. They're always spelt with two T's. So this guy's just a weirdo.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know. Yeah, of course, he is kind of a weirdo in this movie though, a little bit.
Yeah, he's a little bit like I'm like, why would you do that?
It's always wearing
It's kind of
polos too. Who wears
weird.
a polo all the time? God.
It's an Australian staple, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. So when they find her body, that confirms her, yeah. And then I believe did they want to do a DNA test? Did the mom didn't believe right away, so it's like DNA test, or was that later?
Yeah, so that was later. So it goes that so her body is confirmed by her dad. They hold the funeral and everything. But then that's when I think they start hearing like weird stuff going on in their house, but like they don't really think much of it. And then the brother shows like photos of their he was taking photos of like their backyard like every I think it was like every handful of months or so, like every year or something like that, just to like show progress. I think it was either progress in his like photography because he's a photographer, um, or just to show like the progression of like different states of their backyard. And then in the one that happened like a couple months after Alice's confirmed death, uh, it shows her like in the photo like just standing in the backyard, and
Oh yeah, I remember that.
that's when the like the whole family basically, well, at first it started with the mum being like, oh, she's still around, like not as but like not in as like, oh, she's like a ghost, like they think, oh, she was just lost and now she's like returning home, but like not like approaching us
Which is kind
for
of
some reason,
weird.
like
Yeah, it's just like why would
yeah,
they
it's
not like
weird in the it's
approach?
a little bit weird in the movie. It's like they think, oh, because they don't think she's a ghost. They think she is just like she's still like out there and like she was just lost and she's like returned home. But for some reason they don't question why. Oh, why isn't she, you know, approaching us? But yeah, it's sort of like, but it's sort of just showing like how the family is like coping with the death. They all sort of like they don't really listen to reason because they're grieving. Obviously when you grieve, there's different ways people grieve, and with this family it's like they take seeing their daughter being possibly alive and they're like, oh my god, you know and even though the dad was like, no, I saw her like body, it's the fact that the mum becomes so insistent that no, she has to still be out there, like look at the photo and all that, like that's her. Then the dad starts to question himself and is like, did I actually, maybe I identified incorrectly, uh maybe it wasn't her. And then that's when they demand for like a confirmation of identity through like DNA, but then the DNA comes back and it does confirm that that body is hers. So then it starts to get all muddy and it's like, okay, well, that's when it starts to shift more, I believe, into like, oh well, maybe it is a ghost, like it's spooky.
Yeah, it does happen. And then they also, after they realize this might be a ghost, the mom goes to I think a psychic, and they have like a seance in the house to talk to
uh
Alice.
that guy, that bozo, Ray, I remember now,
Yeah,
Ray.
Ray, the fucking stupid person that we'll get to when we get to
Hmm.
that part, but we don't like
Yeah.
Ray is a certified jerk, I guess, or he's yeah.
Ray, I was like meh about, because I'm like, I don't really, you know, like stuff like that. I find it very predatory on people who are like going through grief and stuff like that. Like psychics or like anything like that, where it's like they're basically like preying on people who are in a vulnerable position, like emotionally. I don't fuck with that. I don't like it. So I was already kind of like, whatever. But he didn't seem to be doing like a whole lot of harm. He wasn't like pretending. He wasn't like pretending that like, oh yeah, she's there, she's with us, like, oh, she's come home in the form of like a spirit. He was more so just, helping the mum sort of like traverse her like grief.
and and they
But
have like
then
one
obviously
v
that changes later on, but we'll get to that when we get to that because
yeah
that's
we get
later
that,
on.
yeah, because they do have like a one on one session, the mom and Ray,
Yeah.
because they do the little like close your eyes
And I
thing
was
in
like,
the house.
okay, he's not as bad as I thought he was gonna be. I thought he was gonna be one of those like psychics that just,
Just
prey off of
fake.
people who are being like who are like going through something horrible, and they're just like, ooh, I can make a quick money out of this. But he wasn't really, so I was like, okay. It's like I'm still not like, I'm still wary, but I'm kind of like meh on him. But then that changed, and now I'm like, I fucking hate Ray.
He sucks. But yeah, I go to Ray for a bit, and then the mom kind of goes this whole like, close your eyes. Okay, now you're walking through the house, and then like, she gets to I think Alice's room, and she
Yeah,
can't go in
she
there.
stands at the room in the doorway of Alice's room, and she can't go through.
Yeah, in the vision she's or in the little thing she's doing with Ray, she like can't go
Yeah,
in and stuff like that. Which that part will come
it's
back
sort of like
later too. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's sort of like having it's sort of like what they do is like they sort of go through like this out of body experience where she's like walking through the house like in her mind, but like it she can still like see everything like clearly, so it's sort of like out of body ish, this sort of thing they're doing. I don't know if you would call it a type of like therapy or hypnosis, but yeah, that's essentially what Ray is doing with the mother. um and I think after we get introduced to Ray, I think that's when to um they start to realize like the more and more footage starts popping up like inside their house, like photos and recordings where it seems like the ghost of Alice is like wandering around and like showing up in like the background of like photos or like in mirrors and stuff like that. Mostly in mirrors, it seems she's appearing. Like you can only see her in mirrors, uh, which is important to note
yeah,
because
yeah.
again that comes back later.
Yeah, so a couple months passed after that, and we get introduced to a character called Bob Schmeat.
Bob Schmeat,
Bob
no, not Bob
Schmeat. Yeah,
Schmeat.
that's a great name for a character. But yeah,
Love Bob Schmeat.
we talked about a couple characters at the lake, and they said that because there are also pictures at the lake where they went to, and there's she's
Mm-hmm.
there in the woods. Um,
Yeah.
we talked to this couple, and they said they saw Bob Schmeek out there. They're like, yeah, we saw
Mm-hmm.
this guy out there. He's just kind of like taking pictures and stuff. And then they talked to Bob Schmeek, and I think he's the one that mentions that he saw Matthew, the brother, kind of out there, kind of doing
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Which I think around this time it gets revealed that all the pictures and film with Alice in it were fake. They were all Matthew, just to make her mom more hopeful for Alice to return.
Yeah, so Matthew fakes all the photos and stuff like you said. Um but it was mostly the uh it started with the first photo of her in the background of like in their backyard. Uh that was the one that Matthew made in order to like make their mum feel better about you know the fact that their daughter is like possibly dead, well like literally dead, because well at that point it was still the mum was still like she didn't see the body, so she was like she maybe had some like doubts in her head, but she wasn't like really vocal about it until the brother showed that photo, and then that's when the mum went full like, oh, she's still out there. uh and that's why exactly why he faked the image using his like film and photography skills. He like he gets old photos of Alice and basically like prints the film of prints like the photo of just her onto the the pieces of film that he has taken.
They also
um
did
I
in the
don't know the
mirror
specific
stuff.
terms of it, but
It's like layering, kind of.
yeah, it's like layering,
Yeah,
I would call it.
artist term layering, kind of, where you just kind of put something there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I also like to mention you mentioned the mirror stuff, and he explains that in the film as in he had a TV set up by the mirror that would play old footage, and that's how they got
Mm-hmm.
those shots. Because he did that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you can see her actually moving in like some of the mirror shots, so it's like, oh well, how did you get the ones of her moving? Because he just explains that most of the photos of her was just old photos of her like basically burned into other like tapes that he made. um which again, the first one was made with the intention of making his mum feel better, but then once it sort of spiraled out of control and it started turning into like, oh, maybe it's her ghost, then that's when he sort of kept doing it, and that's when it's kind of like you start raising your eyebrow at him, and you're like, it was already sort of an eyebrow raise the first time he did it. It's like, okay, but how would that make your mom feel better? Now you're just like, you're just
You raised
putting
her hopes
something
up
in
and then you just
her.
shattered it.
Yeah, you're just putting something in her mind that isn't actually true, and the lie you're trying to uh push is not exactly one that's going to do a lot of good because, like you said, rated, it's just raising up. Because then eventually, you know how I said it affected the dad, and the dad began like doubting it and everything. So now it's like the entire family has their hopes raised, and like even if she's not alive per se, it's like, oh well, she's still with us, you know, like she's still somewhat there with us, even if it's not physically. Uh, but then he tested publicly that yeah, I faked all of it, and that would be world-shattering news to hear. Like that obviously breaks the family to hear, but like they're not surprisingly they're not mad at the son really. From what I remember, they're just sort of like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, they were just like, ah, that sucks. They also explain.
I would be so pissed.
I would be too. Just be like, oh, I'll just pretend.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's no ghost. I was just bringing it all up, and I would be like,
I
what?
was gonna say, unrealistic Australian parents, they would be pissed at their son.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell? And then they also explain the photos in the woods because they did have some photos of her at the lake. Apparently, that was just
Mm.
Matthew dressed up as her, and then he was just taking photos that way.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the brother's just a little bit weird and sus throughout the movie. It's like, okay.
Which feeds more into the theory of like he killed her.
Yeah, that's why I'm also on the theory side of, oh, he might have, whether accidental or on purpose, had some hand in her, like, death. It's like, okay, why is he trying so hard to, like, fake her still being around? Like, I get, okay, the first time it's like, oh, I wanted my mom to feel better. It's still kind of a weird reason. It's like, why would you do that still? Because, like, again, you're just putting false hope into them. But whatever. But it's the fact that he continues to and goes to such lengths to continue faking her still being around. It's like, what? It's kind of sus. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty sus, and also like you said, it's not good to do that. Like I don't think it's really good to just pretend your daughter is a ghost. Or
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
false hope, especially for the mum's case where he like knew that she was sort of like, she was not super vocal about it, but she was still sort of on the ropes about her actually being gone. Like the dad was like fully like, you know, fully committed. Like, yes, she's gone. I have to accept that and move on with my life. But the mum was sort of like not super vocal about it from what I remember, but she was very much like in some form of denial. Like she was very much stuck in the denial phase of grief.
yeah, I would say yeah, probably that. Yeah, but later I believe after this they move houses. I don't remember if they do or not. No, that's way
Oh,
later. That's way later. In
no,
the
no, no,
movie.
that's later. That's like near the
Yeah.
ending. I remember what happens next. That's when so they
Start up there, but isn't the part where like they watch the film? So like the blah, 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 the night vision film where they have Alice in the corner. Is that the part where they're like, we saw a guy in her room?
yes, that's what I was gonna bring up. Um
All right.
but I
Well,
think also like first up like the mum still has dreams, almost like sleep paralysis esque
oh yeah, because the
sort of
parents are having both of them
dreams.
are.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
mainly the mum has like these sleep paralysis uh dreams of Alice, and like she's walking into the room, like into their room, and like she looks like she's still like literally came out of the lake, like she's completely drenched and has all like these like stuff you would like see if on someone if they came out of a lake, just like all over her, and she's like dripping wet like all over the fucking floor, and just like stands at the foot of the bed and just like stares at like her mum, and it's like, yeah, the mum just explains how that it feels like Alice, like, trying to reach out for help in some sort of way. And that's also why the mum is still like, even though uh she got basically like proved that yes, your daughter is still dead, like she's not coming back, she's not even like a ghost or anything like that. The mum is still struggling with closure because she keeps having those like sleep paralysis dreams, which honestly you can like in a psychological sense you can say it's just, you can still prove it. It's like, well, that's just because of, the amount of grief and trauma the mum is probably going through. She's having these, dreams.
Yeah, Dad's having the dreams too. Like I think there was one where he was walking into his office. Well, I don't know if it was his office or not, but like he's like
I
walking,
think
and
it
I
was
think
the
she's like
office or the living room.
yeah, and like she's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's having those dreams too. But yeah, so that happens, and then
Oh,
next.
and wait, wasn't there also the dream that or was this one of the, I don't remember if this was a dream or if this was one of the visions she had with Ray, the
Oh yeah, because she does see
the,
Alice. Or no, no.
yeah, because I remember she sees Alice in her room, and then Alice like yells at her to get out. But I
Yeah.
don't remember if that was the dream or if that was a dream the mum had or if that was a vision from like being with Ray that she had.
Well, I know when we get to the later parts about Ray, that'll be more talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Mm-hmm.
that happened. I think that was a dream. I think that was the dad's
Yeah, I
dream.
think it was. I think it was one of. Yeah, I think it was one of the dreams that the dad might have had. It was the
Yeah.
dad or the mom. Again, we're going off of memory, but that does happen. One of them walks into Alice's room in like a dream, so it doesn't actually happen, but like basically gets like screamed at by her to like get out of her room,
Yeah, it does
which is
happen.
like
Yeah.
very startling. Like as they say, it's very startling because that's not like her. Which I think is really good because I'll get back to it because we haven't discussed that part of the movie yet, but I think that's really good. Sort of not foreshadowing, but it's good storytelling in a sense.
Yeah, I would say it's good storytelling. Yeah. But yeah, so
And then because then after that, after we deal with the dreams and all that, that's when they
is this
do
where
that.
Matthew goes with Ray for a little bit? He goes with Ray at some point to be his like film person.
Yeah, I don't think it's very like it's not touched on a lot though. It's mostly most of the family members that is like integral, I would say, with Ray is the mother and yeah.
But yeah, at some point Matthew goes with Ray for a little bit. I don't think really much is explained there. He's just like the cameraman for Ray for a bit.
Yeah.
We don't really see much of that. We kind of see him in a car. That's about it
Hmm.
really. But then we get to the part where they're like rewatching the film, and
Hmm.
they realize that someone was inside Alice's room.
Hmm. They have like a recording in their house. Um
It was
it's
one
the
of the,
same, I think it's the same position that
it was shown
Matthew
earlier.
was
Yeah,
recording. Yeah, it was one of the uh like positions inside the house that Matthew had like recording set up, like a camera to record set up. And it points down like a hallway, I'm pretty sure. Um, but then they realize it was one of the fake. I remember now. It was one of the fake recordings where he put the TV playing an old uh, tape of Alice into it in like the mirror at the end of the hallway. But then they rewatch that back and they realize, oh shit, there's like some grown ass man in
yeah.
Alice's room, and then it's the mum who makes the connection and realizes that it's one of their neighbors, the
The
Tuies,
Palmers.
I think it was.
Or no, not the Palmers. Palmers. Yeah, it's a Tibbies.
No,
Yeah,
the Palmers are the main
main
family,
family.
and the
Yeah,
Tuies are
the
the
Tuies.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I remember you called them like the Toothies or something.
yeah. I thought it was Toothies, but no, it's a Tuies.
That's Tuies. You don't pronounce the T.
Yeah,
Australia is confusing. There's some
it's
times where you do pronounce certain words and letters, and then there's other times where you just don't.
yeah. Yeah, Australian language is weird, although cool. But yeah, his name is Brett Toohey,
Mm-hmm.
and they are neighbors. And Alice babysat for them for a while, so it's kind of confusing
Yeah.
about why is he in there? What's he looking for? Because he's looking for something.
Yeah.
Looks of
Yeah,
it.
he's looking there like, why is he in there? And then the mum also makes a connection that, he must have been like searching for something, as Raiden said, he must be looking for something. And then she keeps making the connections and is like, well, there's Alice's safe that's in there, so that's the only thing that they could realistically think he would be looking for.
Was it a safe or was
Because,
it like hidden behind like a
no, it was a safe. It was a
safe? Okay.
safe. It was a safe thing. Um, and there is, that must be the only thing that, he must be looking for because, why else would he be in there? Um, and it's not like a vision or anything else like that's been going on. Like he literally was there.
Yeah, like if you
Uh,
watch, like to be honest, if you watch like you see this shot twice, like one earlier to show up goes,
yeah,
I'll see that one to see Tui. You can see that guy like in the first shot a little bit if you have like
yeah,
enough TV. Like I saw him there, and then
yeah,
yeah, I saw him again there. And it's like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
I didn't know he was there in the original, like when they first show it.
Which is kind of well, I mean, I guess because of the fact that I don't think you're supposed to watch this movie with like a really good TV because since
Yeah, well, obviously it was released back then as well, so it wasn't
yeah.
like it was released recently. Like it's not a recent movie or anything. So most people who would watch it, they were probably watching it on equally shitty screens as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah,
Which
they
means, like, I'm not saying that like you notice a lot of things or like it becomes like it loses its authenticity because you watch it on like a more high quality screen. Because I still think it really holds that like it looks like it was recorded back then. Like it looks like a documentary and like found footage that would be found during that time period.
it
Like
does, yeah.
still, even when watching it on like a more high quality screen nowadays, it still does hold that feeling, which is really good. It's just obviously some moments like that where like usually you probably wouldn't see it too much. It's like you can definitely make it out more. But I didn't even notice it, so you know, I still think it's somewhat hidden. But
Yeah, you can if you don't pay attention.
I
Yeah,
think it's mostly just like because most of the time when you first see the footage, you're mostly paying attention to like the more lit up area of the back end of the hallway, and that's where you see like, and because Alice is like moving because it's an old recording of her, um you pay more, your eyes instinctively go there because that's where movement is happening. um it's only until like the guy actually gets pointed out that you actually choose to focus in on that area, and that's when it actually becomes visible.
yeah. I mean, if you point it out, it's more. But that's my problem too. Like I look at everything when I watch a movie, so I kind of notice it right away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if
Oh yeah, that's fair.
they go in the safe and they go and they find a tape. They find a tape in the safe,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
on
they figure out because they knew what was, well, they kind of knew what was in the safe, I think. Like the family, or at least the mum did. Because it was a bunch of Alice's like belongings, like it was like a diary and some of her other like really personal belongings that she like treasured. Uh and I think they knew that that tape was there, but they didn't actually know what was like on it. Um and yeah, they're like, oh, it must be
it's probably
like
evidence.
maybe it's the tape. Maybe it's the tape that he wants, but they don't know why until they watch the tape, and then they realize why he would probably be after the tape.
Yeah, what's on the tape is the equivalent to like them. It's kind of like no. They're all. It's a tape where Alice is there with Brett Toohey and his wife, and they proceed to just have sex. That's kind of the thing
Yeah,
with Alice,
it's
and it's really
very
weird.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable when you watch it. And it's like, oh god, and then
Yeah, it made me very uncomfortable. I was like, oh, I don't like these people.
which I think they did that because I think they're like the Toothy's marriage wasn't doing too well, so Alice just wanted to help, I guess, by doing that, which I don't know if that actually
Yeah,
helps or
there's probably
anything.
some form of disgusting manipulation by the husband and the wife, because it wasn't like, oh, the husband was like it was just the husband trying to, uh
Cheat on his
because of
wife.
his marriage or whatever, like trying to cheat on her. It was literally like the wife was there too. Like they were both uh
They were both
doing
there. They were both
they were
exposed.
both intimate with Alice, who, might I add, is 16. If we haven't mentioned already,
I
she
don't.
is
Yeah, I don't think we had
16.
mentioned the age. No, yeah, she's 16. So it's
She's
look,
16.
looking pretty bad for the Toothies.
Yeah. Well, she was 16 at the time of her death, and I don't know if we know when that tape took place, but regardless, she would still be at most 16 at that point
Yeah,
of
which is
that
still
being
pretty bad.
recorded, which is yikes. Because even though, I don't know if people will know this, but even though in Australia here, like, age of consent is 16, that is only, obviously, because some people are stupid and they don't understand age of consent, because I know people use it all the time for, like the weirdos on the internet try to use it for excuses with, like, fictional
She's
characters or
1,000 years
what have
old.
you. They're like, oh, but in Japan, the age of consent is like 14 or whatever they want to say, and it's like, yes, but A, that's like two uh prefixes out of like the hundreds that Japan has, and those prefixes are known to be like super outdated. And also, on top of that, in the case of Australia, where it's like, oh, age of consent is 16, it's just like basically anywhere I would say in the world. Age of consent does not mean, oh, I am an adult, therefore I can do whatever I want with like someone who is 16 because they're of the age of consent. It's like, no, it means they can do whatever they want with other people who are also 16. It doesn't mean that you, a grown ass adult, can, essay a minor, essentially.
Yeah, it's
Because
so
they're
like,
still a minor. They're still a minor. Like, it's just age of consent, they're 16, another person's 16, they can do whatever they want because they're, you know, both people of the age of consent, but they're also still minors. That's what people forget. It's like they're still minors. They're just minors who can consent with one another, but not with, you know, a grown ass adult. So it's very iffy seeing that scene. It's like, which I know some dumb people would be like, oh, but why is it bad? It's like, my brother in Christ. It's literally, she's still a minor.
her brain's still developing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
I just needed to clarify that because I feel like people forget. It's like, yes, the age of consent only counts for people who are also of that same age, not people who are, like, older.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I feel like anywhere it should be just 18 because the fact that, like I said before, I mean, their brains are still
Yeah.
developing and like stuff like that will really like mess up
Yeah.
on the long
I
run
think the
of
varying
things.
ages of consent should exist. I agree with that. It should just be, like, once you're an adult, that's when it just should be fine. But, like, nope.
And also, I like to mention too the fact that the neighbors who the Toothies they also moved after they realized this. They disappeared to avoid
Mm-hmm.
being caught, I guess, which
Yeah.
is just yeah, that happens. Although the parents don't seem that
Yeah.
mad about it, if I remember correctly, they were just
It's
like,
like, bro. Like,
it's
they weren't mad at, like, their daughter, which I'm grateful for, because I was like, I swear to God, if they get mad at her for it, I'm gonna be so pissed. But it's like more so, but then they also don't really seem that mad at the Tuies for it as well, and it's like, eh,
I mean, they're already gone. They moved to like another
yeah.
place. Yeah.
Like, there's not much they could do.
Although they
Like,
did,
yes, they have, like, the proof of it and all that, but it's like, and knowing the justice system and how bad it still is, like, I can't imagine how bad it was back then. Uh, it probably, I'm pretty sure all they get is like a slap on the wrist anyways.
probably.
Like, when
Yeah.
they get, because they do get reported and all that, and I'm pretty sure in the movie they just get like a slap on the wrist essentially, and it's very disheartening, but unfortunately that is the truth. It's like, oh, I remember now. I do remember now. It just came to me. I just had a eureka moment.
Had a vision.
I had a vision. Uh, um, so they do get caught. They get reported. By them I mean the Tuies. Uh, but like the slap on the wrist they get is because there was it's a dumb reason, but I can totally
Was it
believe
because
it
like
happening.
consent or something?
Yes, it was because
Yeah.
of consent. It was like, oh well, technically Alice consented, so there wasn't it like it wasn't that bad. Like they're like, oh, it's bad, but it's not that bad because she consented, and it's like, well, not really, because she's a minor. They're adults, like really grown ass adults. Like they're a couple who was married
They
like
have a
in their
child.
40s. They have children, many
Yeah.
children. Uh, so yikes. But I can also believe that 100% happening because the law system is dumb. And so that's why they get a lesser punishment, all because, oh well, Alice consented, so and it's like, well, no, because just because she's of the age of consent doesn't mean she can then just consent with everyone. It's like she can consent with people of her age, not these grown ass like 40-year-olds. Like, hello. But obviously, justice system is dumb, and yeah, I can really believe that happening anyways, and it's disheartening. But yeah, there's not much the family can do, so that's probably why they're so like just not really not angry because they're obviously still dealing with their grief and like and finding out this news and all that about their daughter, like, and the fact that she was both struggling with that and like hiding it from them because you know she was probably ashamed by it and embarrassed and like tried to hide it. uh that would be equally as upsetting to find out as well, like knowing, oh, I should have reached out more, which is what the movie starts to get into more, which I really like. It starts to reach
Yeah.
more into
It's more of like
the
she wanted to
family.
reach out more and stuff like that. She
Yeah,
we
it
get
really it does deal with that.
yeah, and then yeah they get prosecuted, and then we learned from this is the part where Ray kind of admits that Alice he's been
Yeah,
seeing Alice for like sessions of second readings
yeah.
and
We find out that I like literally I audibly like gasped and I was like, "What?" When
yeah
we found out that he has been seeing her like, I think it was a good few months before Alice actually died was when she was seeing him. Which also, on the topic of like of Ray and all that, back to what I said earlier with the dream that I think it was the dad had where he walked into Alice's room and she like screamed at him to get out. I think that is like a very I like it because it's a very good like telling of how Alice was very much like sort of pushing her family away, but like in the sense of she was like hiding stuff from them and didn't want them to find out this stuff about her out of like shame and embarrassment, and how yeah it's really like like even her own family members didn't really know, like, and we get interviewed by like some of her close friends as well, and they also didn't know, and it's just dealing with that sort of sense of they didn't really know Alice like they thought they did, like how maybe in real life, which I think is a very interesting to talk about. It's like in real life you might think that you're like super close to someone, but then you know you really don't know what's going on in like their lives, and sometimes you don't find that out, unfortunately, until something tragic like this happens.
yeah I think that's also the theme for this last half of the movie. We kind of learn that, which is really cool.
Yeah,
I
and
do like that theme.
this is when it's like it starts getting like depressing, and it's like you don't find out about like this sort of stuff like um before something tragic like this happens, and it's like when you learn about it, it's like you know I could have done. You start thinking of like I could have done more. Why didn't I do more for them? I was so close to them. Someone who was actually close to them would have done more. Why didn't I do more? To like, I could have maybe helped them. Just like stuff like that. It gets like really depressing. It's like, oh. Because it can be very much linked to like people's real life situations. Like it can hit. It's definitely a movie that can hit close to home for some people.
It would, yeah, I would say close home for for like a good amount of people, you know.
Yeah. So yes, that is another thing about this movie. It can be very depressing. Obviously, it depends on the type of person you are, but
Yeah, yeah, it can be
it
pretty
is
depressing.
it's depressing.
But yeah, Ray did admit that Alice been seeing him for a while. Which I have a problem with that too, because I was like, why didn't you mention it earlier after she died? But he was like, well, it's my
I
customer
get not
thing.
mentioning it. I get not mentioning it to her family like when she was still around, because obviously that's how NDAs work.
Yeah,
And it's like technically they can't say anything unless it's like in the moment, like, oh, their life is in danger, sort of thing. Which, like, yes, she was talking to Ray about how she was getting this sense of, like, you know, dread, and like she was going to die like really soon, which, isn't the greatest thing to hear about from someone. Like that would definitely raise some red flags, but again, it's like nothing was really of immediate concern. Like it wasn't like she was saying that she was going to, like, you know, do anything to uh like game end herself or anything like that. It was just sort of, she got this feeling that something was going to happen to her. So, you know, he can't really break the NDA because of that. But then that's when that all falls apart, because then he's just like, then she does die, and the mum starts seeing him, and he just is like, maybe I don't think I will mention the fact that their daughter saw me and was telling me all this stuff before she died, and now
yeah,
she's
maybe I
actually
just
dead.
wouldn't say that. You know, yeah, I agree. It's just so
This
weird.
isn't important for them to know at all. And it's like, my brother in Christ, she is dead, and you saw her before she died, and she was telling you how she got this lingering feeling that she was like about to die.
Yeah, it's just so
Like,
odd.
hello.
And then also we see some like uh, stuff he does with her. She does the same thing her mom did, and eyes closed, walking to the house. And I
And
think
that's
there
also
was
another thing where it's like, you don't think to mention that as well. Like, Ray doesn't think to mention that to them, where it's like, oh, huh, I'm seeing the mum now, and her, like, vision, like, out of body experience seems to be linking up eerily close to the one I had with their daughter, who is dead. Like,
yeah, because I think it mentioned the fact that she goes in the vision thing. She goes in her room, and then the door's closed, and then she says,
yeah,
"There's someone outside my room, and they can't come in."
yeah.
Where remember the
That's like the
mom?
first session they have, and
Yeah,
yeah, that's the first session they have, and like you said, when we go to Alice's out of body thing that she's having with Ray, she, yeah, says, oh, I'm in my room and my door's closed and won't open for the person that's outside. And then, going back to what the mum had, she wanted to go into Alice's room but couldn't, the door wouldn't open. So, that's
which is
raising some flags. And yeah, again, Ray just was like, nah, they don't need to know that.
yeah. I was like, they already know that. They don't even know I saw Alice before they died. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after Ray admits that, um, Alice then they find her journal, and they read that there's a note on there that she went to Lake Mungo for a class trip.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Mm-hmm.
went to go talk to her boyfriend, Jason Whittle,
Yeah.
and they usually talked to him for a bit, and he's like, yeah, when she like walked away for a while, but when she came back, she lost her cell phone and some of her jewelry, and she seemed kind of weird.
Yeah.
And we saw
Yeah. And
cell
I
phone
think,
footage from like the friend's point of view of when she like is hanging out with them, and you can kind of tell she's kind of weirded out a little bit.
yeah. Like, she does not look like she's in the moment at all. Like, everyone else is like, they sort of like are having like a mini, like, typical high school like party outing. Like they're drinking and all that, and like having a good time, but like the footage of Alice, you can very much see on her face that she's not in the moment, and she's like very literally like always looking over her shoulder and seems very on edge and just out of it. And it's like, what is going on? Like, you can instantly tell like something's up. Um and Yeah, that's and then the family remembers when she came home from that trip. Uh that's like, she didn't come home with her cell phone, and she had lost like really important, like, this wasn't just like typical jewelry on her. It was like jewelry that was really like special to Alice. So, and like also the phone that she lost was like new as well. It was like a new Nokia for
Yeah,
the time.
new Nokia.
Uh, hey man, it's Nokia.
Or Nokia, I guess. I don't know.
It's Nokia.
But yeah, so they decide that they're gonna go to Lake Mungo at I think at night.
Yeah.
Did they go at night?
Which
The sun's
also,
setting.
also
To get
like
there.
for going back to that, it still confuses me why that wasn't concerning at the time to the parents. Like, oh, she lost both like really important jewelry to her, and she lost her brand new like phone. Like,
I would say as like a kid, if your kid lost their phone on a trip, I wouldn't be like too like
I
freaked out
wouldn't.
about
Yeah,
that. That's kind of
I
just like a
can
normal
see how
kid
it's
thing.
like. I can see how it's like at the time. It's like I get because I guess yeah, as the audience, we have like the context of like something very much happened to Alice at the lake. So it's like that sort of we have all the context and stuff. So when we hear that sort of stuff, we're like, oh, why did the parents not question anything? But then yeah, looking back on it, if I was a parent in that situation, it's like, oh, my child lost some things while they're at like a class trip with like their friends and they were probably being like stupid, like classic stupid kid. I would be like, I'd be concerned because it's very important stuff to them. Like it's not just oh, I lost like one of my bracelets or something like that. That's like, oh, okay, that sucks, but like, oh, typical kid thing, they weren't paying attention and forgot it. Also, as someone who is forgetful, I can see that happening to me. But like, I would be a bit more concerned because it's so many important things that they just lost all in one go. But yeah, at the end of the day, I probably wouldn't like press it too much because it's like, oh well, it happens. They're like kids and they were like probably doing dumb kid stuff.
Also, I forgot to mention this in the footage we watched of her at the little school trip. There is footage of her burying something at a tree.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
her friend recording on their phone, and they notice her like at a specific tree, uh, burying something, like Rated said. But like we don't know what it is that she buried because she like still seems very out of it when like her friends try and like approach her about it. Like I know some of her friends like were like a little like at the time they were like because I was like, come on, you're like friends. How do you not notice when your friend's like out of it? But like most of them did notice that she wasn't quite herself, but like they didn't really press it. They just thought, oh, she's just having an off night or something like that.
Yeah, because they didn't mention the
Um,
fact that afterwards they kind of thought she was being weird, but they didn't really think about it in the moment. So,
yeah,
just that.
which obviously plays into that whole theme of like you don't really like of like regrets and stuff you have involving someone that like only come to the surface after something unfortunately tragic happens like to them and you start to like do that whole like oh I should have done more sort of thing like the ways of grieving which is very much like themes of this movie which I really like. I like a lot of themes of this nature in media because it gives I like the exploration of different kinds of grief and like how like people deal with it and all that and like the many different ways. I love when people show it off like creatively as well because I think that's why I like this movie so much is because also on top of that one of my like most favorite games is like Amori and that deals with very similar sort of not the exact same like it deals with grief in like a different way but like it still deals with that topic of like grief and how people deal with it how different people deal with it. um
I think that's a good
so
example, yeah.
yeah, liking Amoria and then watching this movie where it has another sort of topic of grief. Again, very different to Amori. They're different. They depict different ways of dealing with grief because Amori has like way more characters and like actually focuses on their different types of grieving. Like it's more Amori's more focused on the different types of grieving, whereas Lake Mungo, I would say, is very much focused on the sort of grieving where it's like you sometimes you don't really know someone until something like this happens and then the feelings of regret that can form because of that.
Yeah, I agree. It does hit on that a lot, where it's like she didn't say a lot of the stuff,
Yeah.
especially what we're going to say next. And then,
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff about how she feels like she can't really, get help from her family. Like the vision she's been having, like the she's been having dreams of her dead, too, or drowning.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
in the
that's why
visions
that's why
too,
she went to see Ray about like the whole, oh, I feel like I have like this feeling of I'm gonna die. Like that's, you know, that's why she went to go see him. And because like yeah, she's having these like dreams of it, which, sometimes you do have dreams where it's the like dream of yourself like being like dying in a dream. But I think with hers it was like the
yeah, it was like
same death, and
reoccurring.
it was like reoccurring, and it was like very specific.
Yeah, that happens a lot. When that happens, and then talking about, and then let's get to the part where they now drive out to the tree. Well, they drive to Lake Mungo,
Hmm.
and I think it's getting night. I don't remember they go out at night or not. I think they do. Well, they're not
Yes, they
supposed to
do.
be
So
out there at
they
night. They mentioned they're like we're not supposed to be here at
yeah,
night, but
so
we're out here anyway.
yeah, so they drive to like Mungo as a family. But yeah, they can't go out. I think yeah, what you said, they can't actually go to the lake unless it's nighttime, which
Well, they can't
that
be there
makes
at
sense
night,
as like a yeah, they can't be there. Oh, they can't be there at night, sorry.
right?
Yeah.
But they still go out
But
there
I know
anyway.
they wait till
They wait.
nighttime. I know they have a reason for it. I don't
Yeah,
remember if it was like,
I think because it's like
oh,
guarded or something. Like people can't really
yeah.
go on it. Yeah, because the place where Alice went is pretty like far out into Lake Mungo.
That, and they probably didn't want like people who are also like tourists and stuff like that probably bumping into them and being like, well, yo, what the hell are they doing?
They're also like desecrating the place too, which I don't think you can do because like digging up something out there is kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why they probably went at night. So again, so like people don't run into them, like they get reported and stuff like that. And also it's just easier if there's like guards and stuff watching, or like security watching over it. It'd just be easier to spot in daytime.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably why they went out at night. And then they went to the tree, and the dad digs up Alice's phone along with all her jewelry she was wearing that day. I don't know why she buried that there, but the phone makes sense. I don't know why the
Hmm.
jewelry, but that's probably another reason that I
I
probably
think it was just sort of because at that point, when she went to the lake at that time, she was getting the feeling that, her death was coming like soon. So she was like, my theory for it, because they don't explain it, my theory for why it wasn't just the phone, it was probably she had all these other really precious belongings of hers buried in like a little, I know she put it in a Ziploc bag, which means she wanted it to be found. It wasn't just, oh, I'm burying these so they can't be found. She very obviously put it in like a Ziploc bag, so she wanted it to be preserved, uh, and not affected by like the sand or like any sort of, even though it's a dried out lake, like any sort of like rain that might fall, even though it's very rare, any rain that might fall and all that.
but yeah, they dig up the phone and they proceed. She has a recording on the phone. She recorded that night,
Hmm.
and it's just kind of like her walking for a bit, and then you do kind of see something in the distance, and then as she gets close to it, you realize that it is her drowned body there. She saw her own dead body, just kind of like
Yeah,
sitting there, and the
she gets
parents.
quite literally confronted with her mortality, which is terrifying to think about.
Yeah, and the parents are like, "That's what she saw that night. She saw her dead self at Lake Mundo," and it's like, I don't know how the parents are so calm from this because it's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
It's just,
the parents are like oddly calm, and
it's like, is this a
like that would
common
be
thing
like,
that happens in Australia?
what? Yeah, it just happens on the daily,
Yeah.
normal.
But yeah, they mentioned that, and then they did pause the video on her face, which looks very disgusting. I think they did a good job with the
Yeah,
blood body.
you see a lot of her like her actual body, and also like the like little, I don't know what you would call it, like
The
the
bloated
premonition
premonitions,
the
yeah.
premonition of her like body that she gets confronted with at the lake before her death. So um I thought, oh, the body, like the little premonition thing that like killed her, but then like actually watching the movie, I was like, oh wait, no, that was just, she had the premonition, then that's when she was like, I need to bury all my stuff and like
She
preserve this recording.
and this is where there's also a jump scare because they play the video, and I think
Yeah, I
she
was gonna say that.
screams when she sees her.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, 'cause I don't remember it was like the premonition that screamed or her that screamed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very ominous. I didn't like it at all because it's very much like, it's not just like, oh, it does get slowly close to her, but then it just like suddenly like lunges at her, and it's very much like in your face, and it's like you feel like how Alice probably would have felt at that time, where it's like you are being literally confronted with your mortality, and like it's very unapologetic and confronting.
It is, yeah. And then so after that, Palmer's decide, hey, we learned all enough by Alice. I think her spirit's at rest, so they decide to move out of the house. And then this is where we get the
Yeah, I
last.
remember the mum comments that the house feels like different. It feels more at ease after they uh discover like all the stuff about Alice that she had been previously hiding. So it's sort of like bittersweet, I would
Yeah, because they
say.
come to like the house is lighter. They think that she's gone and all that, but they do show
Yeah.
like some more Ray footage of like I think the mom in the house, and like they show the
Yeah.
mom's POV where she's like, "Well, I don't see Alice at all anywhere. She must be fine." And then we see like,
Yeah, it's like a second recording with Ray.
yeah,
I think it's I think is it after they is it a session they had after they discovered
yeah, it was
all the stuff
after I
about
think,
Alice?
yeah, because
Yeah,
she says like
okay.
she's not there anymore. Although then we get Alice's point of view where she's like, "Well, I see my mom. I'm trying to get her attention, but she's not. She can't see me." So it's like there's that
Yeah.
too. So it's kind of like, is she at
Which is
peace?
also like depressing.
Yeah. And then
Like when you put yourself I'm like very much like uh empathetic, so I'm putting myself in that situation, like where it's like what if I was Alice and it's just like, oh, the door finally opened and it's like my someone I care about like standing there, but like no matter what I do, I can't seem to get my attention, and I come to that realization where they can't see or hear me, and then they just like leave.
yeah, they do
They like
leave,
leave and never come back. It's like,
and then they show the pictures again, which is like, okay, we're seeing the pictures of fake Alice. But
yeah.
if you look closer, you can see her body, her bloated body, also back there in most of these
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's not her like her like bloated body. It's more so like it's a more actual like ghostly appearance of Alice. Like
like
they even show like
like
initially the first photo is of them taking their last photo with like the house before they move out. Like it's the final photo outside of the like in front of the house. Um and then you see Alice in like the window as if she's like trying to be in the photo as well, but like she can't she can't. It seems she like can't move past the house, like she's trapped there, like she's which is also very bittersweet and depressing to think about because of how the mum is constantly like, oh, she's it feels different in here, like it feels more
more
like
lighter.
relaxed inside the house. It feels lighter in the house. I feel like she's finally been able to move on, but then you get those photos and it's like it seems like Alice is like trapped there, and then it sort of becomes bittersweet because it's like, oh, I feel like she like still can't move on. Like she's trapped there now, and now she has to be in that house like alone because her family's moving, which is very depressing to think about.
Yeah, which matches up with her like sessions with Rakes. You know, like we said, you know, she tries to attention to her mom. She can't see her, and all that.
Mm,
So, and yeah, that's the end of Lake Mundo. And then through the credits, you do
yeah,
see other pictures that were fake at first, but then you do
yeah.
see Alice also there in the background with the fake Alice.
Yeah,
So
it's all the fake footage and fake photos that Matthew the brother took. But like this time it is like it's unaltered ones. and it's just all you can see all in the background of, oh shit, Alice was actually there the whole time. Um, which, you know, it gets further proven by the fact that they get the image, the backyard image that the brother took at the very start, where he was trying to intentionally fake it to make it so that you know, his mum felt better or whatever. Um, and you can still see where he put in the fake apparition of Alice, but then you look to the side and you see her like sitting on like a bench on the other side, like just staring at the porch, and it's like,
I think
oh,
she's still bloated though. I think it's just her like bloated body. Like I don't think it's just like her. I mean, some is probably normal her, but I think other ones are just like her bloated body, just kind of sitting there.
yeah, maybe. I remember most of them being just like a more ghostly version of her. Like it still looked like her. It didn't seem like she was uh like she was drowned or anything. But there probably was a few in there that had her resemble more of like how she died. Which regardless, like most of those fake not fake ones, sorry, the photos that were actually legitimate ones capturing Alice's ghost, uh those ones I can't tell you why, but they like genuinely gave me like chills.
Yeah, they were pretty
Especially
creepy.
I remember specifically the birthday one where it's Matthew's birthday. I think it was like his 18th
Oh
birthday or
yeah, and
something like
she's like
that.
in the background. Oh god.
Yeah. I think it was the lighting because it's only really lit up by like the candles. Like how you would celebrate a birthday sometimes where you like turn off all the lights so you can get just the lighting from the candles, and that's how the scene is set up. But like I think it's because of that lighting as well, and the fact that she's like in like I just don't like dark hallways as well, so it's probably also why. And she's just in like the dark unlit hallway, only just slightly like being lit up by like the candlelight is like, oh, I
There
didn't
was
like it.
there was another picture where they're doing the séance and they're taking a picture there, and she was in the background with the séance.
Oh,
Yeah. Although I don't remember, I don't
yeah,
think we
I do
watched
remember
all.
that one.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say just remember that one with the birthday was like the one that got me the most.
Yeah, that one was terrifying, but yeah, that's
And
like
Rated
Mundo.
can attest to it. He heard me like physically like go like, oh, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
like
sure, he got
that.
scared.
I was uncomfortable, but like in the sort of like not uncomfortable like the one scene where it was just gross, but like which I should
Uncomfortable.
specify, it's not gross for the sake of being gross, which I appreciate, but it's still definitely an uncomfortable scene. It's
Yeah,
like
it's pretty uncomfortable.
but it's
Yeah,
also just like I fucking hate these people.
it's more comfortable in like a scary way, like
Yeah,
unsettling.
but yeah, the one with the photos is like it genuinely sent like chills down my like body, and I was like, oh.
But yeah, all the photos there are really unsettling, and I would say they're just really
Yeah.
creepy. But yeah, that's
It does really well. It does really well with like the subtle sort of horror where it's like it's not super. The only thing that's in your face is like again the one where Alice is confronted by her like dead self, and that's it. But that even that, it's like it has some layers of like subtlety to it. Like it's not like a typical like jump scare. Like it's a jump scare, but it's not like the typical like ooh tense music, bruh, 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 and then big loud noise to like scare you. Like it has a loud noise, but it's not like overwhelmingly loud where it's like you jump because of the noise.
it
It's
does
like
help though, where we kind of
I
like
didn't I didn't necessarily jump. I kind of jumped. I got a jolt. I would call it a jolt of, but it was mostly a jolt of like unease and uh like oh I don't like that. That makes me nervous and unsettled. My jimmies were rustled.
yeah, Jimmy's did get Russell in that scene, which it does help a little bit where we kind of like focused on the pause video where we just see the bloated face for a little bit while they're talking.
Yeah, you like
Yeah.
because it's all completely like dark in the scene, like because it's in a dark like lake forest area, or like oh what's the word we would call it? It's like a it has a word I think kind of like a grove because we have these like mangrove spaces, and that's sort of like over here, and that's sort of what it reminded me of, where it's just like it's just like walking through not exactly a forest because most of the trees aren't like super lush or anything, but it's still got those like branches and stuff like that. And it's very open. Not super open, but like yeah. But yeah, like everything is just dark, like you can't see shit, and I'm pretty sure you only have the light that's coming from Alice's shitty Nokia, which is like barely any light.
Yeah, I would say it's
um
that scene's pretty good. It's shot pretty well when she figures out
yeah.
she's her dead body, because you
And I
do
think
see something a
it
little bit in the distance, and you're like, "What's that?" And then you get closer.
yeah,
And just,
that's what I was gonna say. Like it helps because everything else is dark, like she's just surrounded by darkness, and then but so it like forces you to focus on this thing in the distance because the like as we said, it ends up being her body, but her body is like a very specific, like a super pale, like white gray color. So having that contrast between the super dark like surroundings, you can't see shit, and then you just have like this one bit of like white gray color, it very much like your eyes are basically forced to look at it, and like you want to know because you can tell it's getting like closer and closer, so you're like, what is that? You instinctively are like, I want to know what that is, so you like squint your eyes. Like I know I was like squinting my eyes and stuff most of this movie. I would like squint my eyes at stuff, and like I would literally physically lean in closer, which is a
yeah,
bad
it's a
idea.
pretty dark movie.
uh and like try and spot things, but like that specific scene with how it's like lit, and how it basically like, regardless of what kind of watch you are, you basically are like forced to like squint at the white object because purely because of contrast, which me as an artist I know like a lot about, and I think the movie does that really good in that scene because it's directing your attention to only look at that thing because there's nothing else your brain can like make out really. And then like I said, well, like we discussed before, how it gets closer and then eventually it just leaps out at her, like it lunges at her. When you're trying to like squint so hard at it and like make out what it is, and then have it like suddenly lunge, it like very much caught me off guard, and it was like, ah.
I would say that's probably the best jump scare I've probably seen in a while. Cause
Yeah.
it's you get a very unsettling. Like that's how you should do jump scares. It's like unsettledness, make them feel unsettled, and all of a sudden you see something and have it like kind of appear naturally a little bit instead of trying to force it. So it was.
Dare I say it might be one of my favorite jump scares ever in a horror movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I thought it was a really good jump scare.
But that's also because I'm very much someone who, like, again, I don't like jump scares. So
and that's
very hard for me to like a jump scare.
But yeah, that's Lake Mungo though. Overall, great movie. I think people should really check it out. If you guys watch this entire podcast episode and have not seen it yet, please go see it on George Podcast, please. You'll probably. It
deserved better.
Yeah, it deserved better.
It deserved so much better than what it got, but also I can understand it because Raiden and I were discussing before how it wasn't really promoted outside of like film festivals and stuff like that at the time, and also obviously it was back then, so that probably also didn't help.
But it did become a
horror movies
classic.
Were more so like an American thing, like the whole horror movie like wave was more so an American thing, because like we barely, like even over here we like barely celebrate, like to this day we like barely celebrate Halloween. And I know in America Halloween is like that's where Halloween came from. It's like a big fucking like you guys have all these different things to do, but over here we're like horror is like a lot more hard to come across, like especially like again, like I said, we like barely celebrate Halloween.
Which is kind of that. Never heard that. Wow.
Yeah, it's painful as a horror enthusiast being in Australia. It's like I have one event I could attend, like a one. It's definitely gotten. I would say it's definitely gotten better in recent years, but like probably like back then it was probably so much like there's so much probably less to do, because even nowadays it's like it's still very like you have to be like in specific places where you get lucky and you happen to be near somewhere where they do like Halloween's themed stuff. Otherwise, it's basically just like there's nothing.
Interesting. That also kind of sucks
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm lucky, at least in the sense that I am somewhat near places that do like spooky themed and like scary stuff. Like they have like a one area near me where they do like a horror night thing where it's like the mazes and the like scare actors throughout the park and stuff like that. Um, that's literally like one area that's near me. Uh, and like the other area that's somewhat near me is like it's like a performance sort of place where you go in. I know it has like a specific name. I think it is it a bank banquet or something like
a
that. I'm
banquet?
probably mispronouncing that. Yeah, banquet.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. You like go in and you have like you get like a three-course meal, and there's like actors who like perform like
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
sketches and like do dances and stuff on stage.
yeah. It's a banquet. Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's very specifically like it's specifically only like horror themed stuff.
That actually sounds really cool though.
But it's only like two things, and they're like, I'm just lucky that I'm like sort of like in between them, so it's like I'm somewhat close to them. But like if you're any further out, it's like I don't even think there's like anything really. Because I'm just lucky and I'm like near a bunch of cities, so
Also, one more thing, Cherry, I want to ask, since we're talking about Australia stuff. The one thing I noticed in the movie is the doorknobs. Now they were kind of weird.
oh the doorknobs, you and the doorknobs.
They look weird, okay? They're too high up on the door, and I think they're on the wrong
They're
side
normal.
of the door. Are they normal? Is that a normal Australian thing to do? Have them that high up with on the wrong side?
Yes, they are normal. I think I think I don't know. I don't know what's considered normal because they're probably like that because I know we drive on like the left is it left hand side of the road? I think it
Yeah,
is
it's left hand.
side
We
of
drive
the
on the
road.
right
And you
hand.
guys
Yeah.
yeah, you guys drive on the right hand. It's the same with like the doors. Like we have ours on like the left side, you guys have them on the like the right side or something. I don't know. Is
Yeah.
that the difference or is it just the height?
Well, I know in the like your cars are different too because the fact that the driver's seat's on the right side of the car is the
Yeah.
left. Yeah. So
That's all because of architecture stuff back in like way back in the day. Like it just so happens that in our area we obviously had architecture that was more left hand side favored. Also America is always wanting to be different so and quirky. So
yeah, pretty much yeah. But I would say this movie really good. Check it out. Um, if you guys liked having Cherry in this episode, make sure you like the video.
Hi.
You know, if you want her on again, like the video. Obviously, I think Cherry's going to show up probably again for more Australian horror type movies, or maybe even her favorite horror movie, which I don't know what that would be. I have probably an idea, but
Tee.
we won't know until we make that video. But yeah, if you guys are interested in learning more about Cherry, or like you want to interact with her on social medias, her links will be in the description. Yeah, you want to say anything else, Cherry, before we call off the podcast?
Press like if you want to save me. If you don't press like, you are letting me wither away.
Yes, you must give Cherry more monster energy drink. If you like the video, she gets another monster energy drink.
Would you want this little guy to die?
Yeah, you want this
want this little guy to die?
You want this little guy to die
perish.
right now in Paris, huh? You want that?
Look
look.
into my eyes.
Yeah,
look into my eyes.
Look into her eyes.
Zoom in. I can't zoom in far enough. But
I think it's zoomed in close enough where they can see. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Look at me. Look me in the eye and tell me you would let me die.
But yeah, also comment if you're from Australia too, and tell us cool Australian facts. Yeah.
Tell us about Australian movies, because I would actually love to learn more about Australian horror movies and stuff like that. So
I know
if there's like a horror movie that like, you know of outside of like obviously the one we just discussed or stuff like, because I know the other common ones like the Wolf Creek stuff like that and Talk to Me are like the well-known ones. So if you know any like outside of that, I would love to like learn more about them, whether they're like they're also like hidden gems or if they're like goofy. I would love to just hear about any sort of Australian horror movies because I want to know more Australian horror movies. Because so far they have not let me down. So if you want to contribute to that, or if you want to ruin that for me and show me a god awful Australian horror movie, yeah, suggest them.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. Like, I would like to see more of like foreign films too, like all that stuff. Like that'd be really cool to learn. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like the video so Chair doesn't die. Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Share with your friends, share with your family, all that. Get the word out there that this podcast is cool and we should do more horror stuff. And also, if you want Cherry back on the podcast, make sure you guys let me know in the comments. So, but yeah. Yay! I am not rated. This is Cherry Donut, and this has been the You Had Me at Horror podcast. Hope you all have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one. We don't really have an outro for this series yet, so that's about it.
Make sure there's no ghosties in your bed.
Yeah, make sure there's no ghosts in your bed. Make sure you don't have a dead family member trying to contact you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope you all
don't trust anyone called Ray.
Yeah, don't trust Ray. Ray is sus. That's sus name.
But... Don't trust Ray. He's a dick.
Trust Bob Schmeat.
We only trust Bob Schmeat. In Bob Schmeat we trust.
Yes, in Bob Schmeat we trust. But anyway, hope you all have a good rest of your night, or whatever you're from, night, day, whatever time it is for you. And yeah, see you on the next one.
Bye.